Well, we're a little late to the party, but welcome on in. This was the JB Shabazz Decision Day instant reaction and analysis. Shabazz came into today down to his final three in Tennessee, South Carolina, and Ohio State. The 6'7", 15-pound mountain, the number 6 offensive tackle in the nation, will take his talents out to Knoxville. Another big get for Josh Heupel and company. Joining me as well is Garrison Gaddy over at Ohio State at the Voice of College Football. Garrison, I know we're a little late. I know he made his decision about 45 minutes ago. He said he was going to commit it around 6 o'clock, but I guess this is another bad example of Eastern versus Central time.
No, you know what's funny about it? I have a text that I didn't send, and it was to you. And I was gonna say, did he mean to commit earlier or later? And so then I went and checked it. I said, well, maybe it's doing the reaction to it. But I was like, oh wow, yeah, I guess he did. And I am a little surprised, to be honest with you.
To be honest with you, I think I saw this one coming, especially with the type of money that is going to get thrown around, to be honest with you.
Right.
When I look at how much money is thrown at a kid's way, especially once we get to the beginning of August, once revenue sharing really starts to take off at the high school ranks, that's when you're going to start to see kind of like what Georgia does now, because Kirby mentioned about it, I think, at the beginning of the summer. He's paying his guys, what, $2 or $3, $40,000 a month just to stay committed to that school. Now, that's not confirmed, but that is also what I'm hearing around college football, because everybody knows about the House settlement with the $20.5 million that's about to come in. Garrison, let's just be honest. Me and you both know, as former college athletes, we can confirm there's still paper bags with thousands and thousands of dollars being slipped under the table.
There has to be. No, there has to be. And I mean, even Ohio State's athletic director, he talked about it too long ago. He said there are teams that are still front loading some of these NIL deals, and sometimes you are going to front load that in legal ways or not, or I don't want to say legal or illegal, but in ways that cohere to the rules or not, right? That recruiting is the backbone of college football, and paper bags come with that. The only shocking part of this is that I did think that Ohio State could have a chance coming in late, a little bit clearly a little bit too late. Tyler Bowen, the new offensive line coach for Ohio State, he's been on the heater lately. Been getting some really good players like Sam Greer. He has two top 20 offensive tackles on the team already. So to that point, I am not. That's kind of why I'm not surprised. Also, for Tennessee, I mean, if you look at Ohio State's class, you can see where the money has already gone to. Where if you look at Tennessee, they still have some room where they can get some guys like JB Shabazz. And honestly, I mean, it's not like Tennessee's a bad spot either.
Garrison, I'll say it. Well, I've said this multiple times on my show. Nothing is official until the name is signed at the bottom of the paper on National Signing Day. I would even go further and to say that it's not official until their freshman season begins. Because if you remember, with Julian Sayin entering the portal last year, y'all knew that from what happened last year. Goes from Alabama to Ohio State. He's now about to enter his redshirt freshman year as a Buckeye. So nothing is ever going to really remain the same, and no commitment is really safe for any program. I promise you, there's going to be a lot of big names that's going to flip within the next several months between now and National Early Signing Day in December, because the money is going to come calling, no matter how many visits that these kids take, no matter how many times they put out on social media and say they're locked in. Until that name is on the dotted line, I'm not convinced. And I will never be convinced for the remainder that we have this amount of money being shared amongst high school and even portal athletes as well.
And and that's why you continue to recruit even when a kid is committed, unless they come out and say, "Hey, I'm closing down my recruitment." Then there's still a game.
We've seen graphics of that too that say we're closing down our commitments too.
Yeah, and outside of that, I believe you should keep recruiting.
Yes.
And you want, because you want to have that relationship, right? One of the big reasons Ohio State got Julian Sand was because at the time Bill O'Brien, people forget, was the OC for a few seconds at Ohio State. Bill O'Brien coming out of Bama, he was the reason why we got Julian Sand. Also, to the fact that Ryan Day had a good relationship with him the year prior, before coming to Alabama. So a commitment like this, I mean, you look at South Carolina. It's not like South Carolina doesn't have anything to give, right? That's
right,
one of the fastest rising programs right now. Shane Beamer, I remember growing up because I'm 32, so I grew up during the Beamer ball era at Virginia Tech. So I'm just a closeted Beamer fan. But you look at what's growing there in South Carolina. I would say, I mean, you guys would have the better chance of flipping this commitment. Money is going to be at play here, but I also think you have to have a proof of concept. And South Carolina, based on what they could be this season, they could show that.
It's going to come down to how much money are boosters and outside sources willing to invest in this program when it comes to recruiting. That's where you're going to have a lot of issues come into play, is when that aspect comes into recruiting as a whole. Now, when I look at South Carolina's recruiting class, you have, according to Rivals and On3, the combination. What are we going to call them right now, Garrison? We might as well just call them On3 at this point, because
it's On3.
It's just confusing. I'm not calling them Rivals / On3 because this is just stupid. But according to their recruiting rankings, that's the only recruiting rankings that I can trust. I know 247's all over the place. South Carolina, with 10 or fewer commitments, is number 19 in all of the recruiting rankings. And to think of what you've been able to do with this recruiting class, the fact that you've been able to keep guys within the Carolinas is impressive. The problem is that how many are you going to continue to keep in the Carolinas? Money only stretches so far. I mean, you and I both know this, because even with the amount of money that you're about to get in as a program, how much of that money is going to go to the kids now at the end of the day? That is where we're going to have a lot of issues when it comes to revenue sharing, when it comes to coaches' salaries, because not only will that $20.5 million affect how much kids are going to make, it's also going to affect these coaches' buyouts, because you're seeing guys like Mark Stoops, who's coming off of a 4-8 record and has a $37 million buyout. Hugh Freeze, they've been calling for, excuse my French, his ass for the last year at least. He's got a $27 million buyout. The problem is that when there's money that comes into play, no matter what it is, whether it's coaches or whether it is an athlete, it all comes down to how much money is thrown your way. If you have this big of a buyout, you're not going to be able to fire a coach. You're going to have to deal with him for the next year or two. You got to build a roster around him. So you go to the portal, you go through high school recruiting. With a guy like JB Shabazz, it's hard to not underestimate how much money plays a factor when it comes to a 4- and 5-star guy. Money is going to matter to this kid. Do I personally know that? No. I can only make assumptions, but it's hard not to make an assumption from what we have already seen throughout this game of college football.
Let me ask you a question here. What in terms of importance, where do you think JB Shabazz is for Tennessee compared to South Carolina in terms of importance on the class so far for the class?
When you look at what Tennessee lost last year, that was a great offensive line that they had the last 2 years. You're having to replace a guy like Cooper Mays on the interior That's now, that was what, a 2-3 year starter. You're having to, next year, you're probably going to have to replace Lance Hurd if he even is a starter. And by the way, Lance Hurd was a starter at LSU. He goes to Tennessee, has a down year. What happens next? Goes to Tennessee. Expectations are low for that interior. Expectations are low at tackle. So now that you look at what Tennessee is going to go into 2026 with, I'm already looking ahead to that 26 class. I'm looking at what you have already. You got Gabriel Osenda at the beginning of the year. He's the number 4 offensive lineman in the nation. Now you have a guy like JB Shabazz, who's fairly low on 247's rankings. But to me, when you add a guy with that type of talent and that type of just athleticism, not to mention that you have an incoming freshman who may not start, but is going to be a star in the making in David Sanders, this is going to improve Tennessee's offensive, specifically that tackle room, much better down the road in order to protect guys like Faison Brandon next year after Joey Aguilar finishes up this year. I don't know if Joey Aguilar is going to be your starter next year, nor do I believe he's going to be in Knoxville next year, but only time will tell. To me, Heupel is going to focus on the future of what Tennessee is going to look like through recruiting at the high school level once we get to 26 and beyond.
You know, and when you talk about, when you bring up the fact that, you know, that Sanders last year and just, you know, more maybe bringing in Shabazz, you know, towards the end of the season, once it's on the side on signature signed. What does Josh Heupel want to do? He wants to sit back, drop back, and throw that ball as many times as possible.
Yes,
that's what he wants to do. And when he was most successful, what does he have? He has a very an elite offensive line, especially at the tackle position, because you need elite tackles in order to run an offense, an air raid offense like that. I do think, though, just to go back to what you were talking about prior, when you were talking about some of these coaches and their buyouts. I do think as we, you know, over the next few years, a trend we're going to see some of these high-end players being attached to the coach, kind of like a first-round draft pick is to a head coach. I think you're going to start seeing that. It's right down the street from here. You can look somewhere like the University of Michigan, right? You would have to believe that Bryce Underwood and Jerome Moore are attached at the hip. The same way over at Nebraska, I think the quarterback and the coach are attached at the hip.
Dylan Raiola.
Yep. And so I do think that's going to be something that we see new in college football. And honestly, I think it makes the sport a little bit more interesting. I really think it does. I mean, you got it down in Florida. There's a lot of places where I think the head coach is attached to the quarterback.
Right. Look at what
if it doesn't work for Billy, he's getting fired.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just with what Napier and DJ Lagway does. To your point, you're absolutely right. If DJ Lagway doesn't commit to Florida, Napier's fired at the end of the year. There's no way that your AD is going to keep a guy that's won less than 20 games in 3 years there, has been a disaster so far.
Terrible.
And then you get a guy like Lagway to stay in Gainesville, and you see what happened with Florida last year. Have an amazing 3-game run. Have games where you could have beaten Tennessee, you could have beaten Georgia. In my opinion, Florida is the most dangerous team in the SEC right now because I look ahead to what they play. They play Texas early on. They play Miami. You watch out for those 2 games. I do think that they'll end up beating Miami. I think they'll absolutely get after Carson Beck's ass. Because I think despite what their defensive line lost, I do think that you have a lot of pieces that you retained from last year on offense to be able to methodically move the football down the field. You have a young receiving room that I think is going to be really, really good in the next few years. I think the Trey Wilson and DJ Lagway combination is going to be better than what people think. Then you look ahead to Texas. What happens there?
So I've had plenty of conversations about Florida with people. I'm bullish on Florida right now, only because I'm bullish on Lagway. I think there's a chance that he might be the best player in college football. Just when I look at the gifts and talents he has. But I mean, you look at that Florida schedule. I mean, it's barely. I don't know if I would call it easier than last season's. Last season's schedule was pretty hard too.
It's the same schedule, except
yeah,
we know what you went against last year, and we know what expectations have different. That expectations have differed going into 25.
It's different. You go into Kyle Field. I don't think that's not a walk in the park either. But no, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And I think in terms of like for Tennessee and how it affects them on this season, part of recruiting is still winning football games. So I mean, we'll see how they finish out this season. I don't have high expectations for Tennessee, but then again, like I said, I think it's a good landing spot for JB. But of course, this recruiting isn't over. There's no way.
Oh no.
I think for schools like Tennessee right now, some recruits hang on a thread because people still want to see what you look like. It's been a down year now for two in a row. So
they've been hot recently. I mean, everybody's been talking about Bama. Tennessee's been getting some dudes on the offensive on both sides of the ball that have been dogs. I mean, monsters. When I look at what they've gotten offensive line wise, you've got two dudes that could easily turn into starters.
Yes.
Within their second or third year and can dominate against SEC defensive linemen.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right. I'm looking at their class right here, and you have it. They have guys at important positions. Of course, you start with Brandon Faison. I mean, he's the catalyst of the best player in the nation. He's the catalyst that you're building around. But look, you got one of the best of the tackles. You went and got two top linebackers. Edge, defensive line. You got two wide receivers. And wide receiver, man, I mean, in Josh Heupel's offense, you don't have to be an elite guy, wide receiver, to play in that offense. He's very scheme. He depends on the scheme a lot, and it works. So, yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you heard this. By the way, guys, breaking news real fast. Smoke Matthews is announcing his commitment right now. He is between South Carolina, I think. Yeah, he's down to Texas, South Carolina, Florida State, and Miami right now. I'm looking right now on my phone to see where he'll commit.
I've heard a few Texas guys talk by him.
I've had a lot of Texas. I've had a lot of people talking about Texas.
Another Carolina kid.
I look, it's been a rough It's been a rough stretch for South Carolina with recruiting wise, but honestly, I like the balls on Beamer going after top tier guys. You're coming off of a season where you kind of made some noise over the last several games of the year, and rightfully so. You dropped them and went after guys. You've hit on a couple, but you've also lost a lot. But I think overall, Beamer's going to have a solid class. I think he'll finish off with another top 20 class when it's all said and done at the end of the day.
No, I agree. And I think that if they finish top 20, I would count that as a success. I heard this maybe like a few years ago from Bud Elliott. And he said that the gap between the number 1 recruiting class and the number 7 recruiting or number 8 recruiting class is the same gap between 9 to 30. So if you're in that top 20 range, you're actually doing relatively good compared to the rest of college football nation, right? So no, if they do that, I mean, again, Beamer, he's showing that he can develop. First, he's showing he can develop a quarterback. That's most important. And now you have Aaron Nolan over there, guy you poached him over from Ohio State. By the way, I think he's gonna be a really good player for you guys. I'm really high on that kid.
Aaron Nolan's got a hell of an arm.
Yeah, well, like the comparison for us, like a lot of us, we looked at him like C.J. Stroud. That's the way we looked at him.
That's what
yeah.
I've heard too. They said he was at Elite 11 regionals last year.
Mhm.
He was hitting the goalpost, I think, 2 or 3 times in a row.
No, he's a dog. Like he's like he throws the ball really pretty, like kind of like CJ Stroud or like a
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers. When the ball leaves their hand, it looks really pretty, right? So that I think if they continue to like stack classes, which is what you want to do, get some elite talent around them. I mean, shoot, I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Who is that really fast, big wide receiver you have?
Nick Harbor.
Nick Harbor.
Nick
What
Harbor's
game?
a freak.
Dude, so I'm gonna find this tweet. It's an old tweet. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna pull it up for you, and I can find it.
Okay.
It was on the game when he had that. It was against Bama.
I think so.
We had that touchdown that like tie the game or take the lead. What game was that?
It was I think that might have been you talking about the Clemson one at the end of the year where Lenore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Beautiful touch pass near the
right
end.
right before that drop, right before that play, I tweeted out. I think I feel like Harbor down the left side, like Harbor deep down the left sideline.
Okay. I think I saw that tweet earlier today.
It happened. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
No, but no, there's a lot building over at South Carolina. I think that the fan base should be happy about.
I've said this a lot. If you want to get back to that Spurrier era level between 2009 and 2013, where you were consistently in contention for an SEC East, even national championship contention, it starts with recruiting. Recruiting has been your lifeblood, and keeping guys in your home state has been your lifeblood. This year, I think you've kept 6 or 7 of the top 10 from last year in your recruiting class. So far, it's kind of been hit or miss this year, but you did manage to keep the number 1 overall player in South Carolina this year, which I think was pretty impressive this year. Rod Farva, Heupel coaching at OU next season. Oh, hell no. Dude, Tennessee's paying him way too much money.
I'll tell you what, if OU doesn't work this season, if I had to bet on a coach moving over there, I'd probably say Fran Brown.
I have also gone on record and said this. The realest coaches in college football right now are Deion Sanders and Fran Brown. Two of the most polarizing figures right now in the college game. I love Fran Brown. I would go play for Fran Brown in a heartbeat. Did you go see the first half of that Pitt versus Syracuse game when Kyle McCord throws 4 or 5 interceptions?
Yeah, a lot. He threw a lot of them.
Fran Brown looks him in the eyes and says, "You're our guy. We're not giving up on you." I love that factor that he brings to the table. I love Day 1K says, "I love Nolan. I say he is closer to Dwayne Haskins more than Stroud."
I can see it
because of his mobility.
No, well, he's less mobile than like Dwayne wasn't mobile at all.
Really?
Oh no.
I saw him move around the pocket a little bit.
No, all right, yeah, he can.
He was a field general whenever he went down the field.
Yeah, but I mean, if you ask Dwayne to go run a 40-yard dash, he'd probably give you a 5.2. But no, I think Nolan's a bit. Oh, CJ
was more mobile on his feet whenever he would roll out.
Yeah, I think that Nolan could be I think he's more mobile than Haskins, not as mobile as Stroud. I think he's a good tweener, but I mean, regardless of the fact, he can throw the ball really well. He's better at throwing the ball than Sellers is. I think I'm comfortable with saying that. Sellers has everything else. He's just it was 245.
That Lenore's is?
Yeah, how big is Lenore's?
I think Lenore's is 225.
Really? I thought it was 240. He looks it.
He's gonna get bigger though. I've said this before that he's got a lot of Cam Newton in it. Never mind, he is 240. He doesn't look that big whenever I see him on the TV, but then again, it's one thing looking at him on a television screen and looking at him what he looks like in person.
No, I remember my first time meeting Terrell Pryor in person. When I was younger, dude. I was like, oh, he's huge. He was all 6'6", 240. I'll tell you that.
Have you ever seen Will Howard in person?
No, but I would imagine it's the same thing.
I saw him at Senior Bowl this past January.
Big guy. Is he? He's an actual 6'4", 230.
I'm 6'2", 225 pounds, and I felt extremely, extremely small right next to him.
See, man, I'm telling you, as a guy that played defensive back, bro, I'm happy I never had to go.
Yes.
Like whenever I saw a pulling guard, I'll listen, man. I'll take the outside. Just keep going down the field, man.
You squeeze and spill?
Man, I don't got time to deal with those type of guys.
No, come on now. That was one of my.
I go ankle chopping.
Nah, brother. See, that's what we used to get taught until we got flagged for it.
Oh man,
which is ironic because offensive line get away with it all the time whenever they cut us.
Oh yeah, for sure. They always do.
But man, we were playing one team. I don't know if you've heard of Scotlandville High School out in the middle of Baton Rouge. They put out guys like Levi Lewis, who ended up with Napier at ULL. He ended up being like one of the greatest UL quarterbacks of that time, and probably the greatest quarterback that Napier had coached as a head man up to that point. But he was a dynamic playmaker. Dude was really shifty, but dude was just a straight up beast. I mean, he was really freaking good. But we played him. They beat us 45-0 one year. I think I was in 8th grade when all this went down. This dude had 300 yards of offense by himself. He had like 116 yards through the air, and he just ran right over our ass, dude. We could not contain whatsoever. Jesse Sewell, what did he decide? He decided Tennessee.
Which, by the way, I do think Tennessee has the best fight song in college football.
Yes, I think that offensive line development is much better than what we've seen compared to South Carolina and I would say Ohio State as well. When I look at South Carolina's offensive line development, that was a big Achilles heel for them last year. I think that's something they need to hit, especially throughout this portal season. Not to mention the running back room, since I don't know if you've heard, Garrison, I've talked about this so many times on South Carolina Live. Russell Faison's waiver by the NCAA has been up in the air since January. They let the kid go through spring practice, let him transfer from Utah State to South Carolina. He skipped the NFL draft process. He could have gone to the NFL draft, and now he's ineligible. So
that's tough. That's a bad situation to be in.
I'm not surprised whatsoever that this is the case, because when I look at where the NCAA has been the last several years, and with how bad the NCAA has been, how inconsistent their decision-making has been, they've been getting their ass whipped for the last, 2-3 years with different decisions that have been reached. It's just
in football, specifically in football.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the major headline, though, is because you hardly really hear anything about basketball. I will say they had 2 lawsuits that ended up going one way, which has benefited one basketball player to get that extra year of eligibility, while on the other hand, it didn't end well. And it didn't end well for the other guy. I don't remember their names, though. What you thinking about KJ Ford, who's about to commit in an hour?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, man. First off, man, actually, we'll be going live with them later tonight. Ohio State's really late on that recruitment. Guy from Duncanville. Of course, we also missed out on his teammate earlier late last month in Barnes. But it's really interesting that the other day it comes out Crystal Ball comes out for Alabama, and then later that night Oklahoma comes out of nowhere. Oklahoma hasn't been part of this recruitment at all. And then next thing you know, the other night, a crystal ball comes out for him. So for Ohio State, it doesn't look like that Ohio State's going to get him. We do have a pretty decent defensive line class right now. I think right now, or not right now, what it seems like is Matt Patricia is he got the guys that he wanted to get.
Yes.
Now, like we're not going to get Deuce Gerald's, but for Matt Patricia, he got the guys he wanted to get. I did talk about this on our show last week, I believe, and I said that if I'm looking at what Ohio State's been going towards over the last few years, and you can look at it through like Tyleik Williams or like Ty Simpson or having Edric Houston, Ohio State once got like tall defensive tackles with really long arms. Because when you have guys with long arms, then inside it's a mismatch against guards who tend to have shorter arms, shorter guys. So, you got him, Brickle, a few other guys. Also, still trying to get Manuel Ruffin out of Louisiana. He's another Ohio State kid, kid that Ohio State really wants to get. So we'll see, man. But as of right now, I don't know where he's going to go, but I think he's going to go to Bama in terms of KJ Ford, but we'll see.
I think KJ Ford may end up staying in the state of Texas. I know that Texas A&M has been on the hot trail with defensive line talent.
I call him Daddy Warbucks.
Wow.
They spend money, man. They got a lot of money.
I mean, Texas A&M is the best place that money can buy. They're taking SMU's spot at that point. The truth is South Carolina is losing players because they already have a lot of talent. We lost Convey to Tennessee because we're loaded with DBs already, and we have dudes ranked higher than Convey. That is true because your DB room is stacked this year. Not to mention with what you have already going into 25, but what you also have in this 26 recruiting class. I think you have, 2 or 3 4-stars that are at DB when we talk about CeCale Patterson. I think CeCale Patterson playing receiver? Jesse, you can confirm with me. Is CeCale Patterson playing receiver or is he playing DB? Because they have him listed as an athlete. Because I've seen him play both sides of the ball, but okay, he'll be a wide receiver. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I thought he was going to be a DB for.
Is he listed as an athlete on 247?
Yeah, he's listed as an athlete on 247, and
okay.
I think all 3 has him as an athlete too.
Yeah, and I got my sister-in-law Gabby.
I love it, man. Let's dive into the finalists. First up, Florida State. What has the Seminoles in the mix?
They've been here since freshman year. Coach Norvell is one of the best head coaches out there
Texas,
right now, and with an experienced DB coach as Coach Retain, who's been in the league and is arguably one of the best corners to do it. It's only right to respect them and put them up here.
What do you like so much about the Miami Hurricanes?
Miami. It's kind of been a weird relationship with them, but I mean, they came on late, and with Coach Crucible, what he's doing, the recruiting class he got in this year is real great. Got one of my teammates and close friends, Tyron Evans, committed there.
You're a guy.
So I mean,
want to get recruited early on, and if you have a dream school in mind, you want them to come after you as early as possible.
Yeah.
And with what he just said, relationships.
Miami's not.
The money and the relationships matter. PJ Dean was a great example last week.
There's so many times, and so many of my friends and relatives go there. So I mean, it's not far from home. So I mean, it's a good choice.
All right, last but certainly not least, the Texas Longhorns. What do you like so much?
Those are South Carolina's.
They're a late school, but Coach
I think it's
one of the
Carolina.
best coaches out there. I think Coach O, who had a great relationship when he was
I like Torian Gray.
He finally got the job. I just had to
been there for the last
go up there and learn her more as a human.
And
when I went up there for the little spring practice,
so many dudes in the NFL with C.J. Henderson, Brandon Flowers, Cam Chancellor, Kendall.
Well, first I got to tell you, your family, you have been great to deal with throughout this process. I'm very excited to see what you're about to do. There are a ton of people watching at home right now and a ton of people in the gym. So, Samari, the moment is here. Time to tell everybody where you are continuing your academic and athletic career.
Take off shock doctor jacket. I want that shot jacket. I remember this was a big
first,
back in the day.
I want to thank God.
I didn't think it was around anymore.
He kind of made everything right for me. I want to thank everybody who showed out. left side to right side. I mean, all y'all are a big part of my recruitment, a big part of my life. So I love and respect all y'all, and thank y'all for coming out. I want to thank the people up here, my family. Without them, I wouldn't even be who I am. Pops is a big part of my life. My sister's a big part of my life. Brother, mom, niece, she just got here. And my sister-in-law, they're all a big part. My best friend, Cam, I appreciate you. My brothers, my teammates right there, love y'all to death. Coaches, all the coaches who came out. My little bros, the younger kids, I appreciate all y'all. Y'all make me keep going. Don't want to fail y'all, so I'm gonna make sure I keep going for y'all. All the coaches, all the staffs, all the people I met throughout this recruitment, I appreciate y'all and thank y'all for believing in me and just giving me the opportunity to play at y'all school. And with that being said, for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be committed to the University of Texas.
And what Texas has done the last 2 years when it comes to their DB room shows you how good they have been recently with developing top guys. It sucks if you're a South Carolina fan because it's another Carolina dude that you missed out on. But you got to understand, it's one that, guys, you were in the running for them. You took a stab at one of the top DBs in the nation. It sucks, trust me. But I have said this before. There is no problem with a recruiting class with what you have right now. Because understand, you still got July, you still got August, September, October, November, December to flip these dudes. We're in the era of flip-flopping. No commitment is safe right now. We can have all this celebration. 247 Sports on 3. All these major recruiting sites can be on your campus talking about what your program has to offer and where you're going to commit to the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. I mean, for Texas right now, they have 2 other cornerback commitments on their team. One being one of the top 10 in the nation, and then being Jermaine, and another one lower 3-star. So I mean, it's understandable. And again, when you get into when you're going after these top athletes, right? These top recruits. This is what happens. It's the name of the game. You're gonna miss on. You're gonna shoot, and you're gonna miss. That's honestly what's gonna happen. Especially, you look at the list that's on there: Texas, South Carolina, Miami. Like these are all top. I would say like top 15 to 20 recruiting places, right? I mean, Miami top 10 right now, top 5 actually. So
that's the number 1 player overall.
Exactly.
You're paying probably close to $10 million to stay in Coral Gables.
And also, I mean, if you're South Carolina, there's things about this to think about. At Miami, Mario Cristobal is probably the best offensive line mind in the nation. And I think that goes without saying. And so for you to be in a battle with them, that shows a lot. That shows that these guys do see the work that you guys have there. I think that Miami hasn't really been. I think they put in 2 corners in the NFL last season or the last 2 seasons.
South Carolina or Texas?
No, Miami has. They had 2 corners.
I think so.
I think they have. I mean, all these programs are. So again,
they've got 2 top 15 guys in Francis Magoa and Ruben Bain, who should be first-round draft picks in 26.
And so I'm looking at here, I'm looking at South Carolina here. You guys still have Currents, so you'll be fine. I'm looking at
maybe Currents is locked in with South Carolina too.
Yeah, this kid KJ Johnson, 6'2", 175. I think that you want to add up 1 more DB. You usually want 3 to 4, I would say, but it's only what month right now? July. It's a long time to go. Long time to go.
Garrison, what you think about this, about Braylon Womack potentially slipping away? Hey, I mean, Because I think he's down to Auburn, you guys, Texas, and I think Oregon.
I think if it slips away, that has a lot to do with Simeon Caldwell.
Yes.
You know, he's slotted as a safety, but he has had conversations with Ohio State about playing linebacker. Because he's on the bigger side as a safety, kind of like how Sonny Styles was.
Right.
So we'll see with that.
They're gonna play him more of a flex guy. He's a guy that can play, in my opinion, all over the field.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right here. Like Ohio State does have Simeon Caldwell in there. We still have Blaine Bradford in there.
Blaine Bradford's been committed to Ohio State for what, a year?
Almost a year, yeah. And he shut down his recruitment. So
I figured he would.
Yeah,
I think Lamar Brown tweeted him out and called him out on X, trying to get him to sign with LSU.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
I thought it was funny, but
no, right? Because someone like him, Bradford, he's someone that Ohio State probably thinks they can play year one.
Yeah,
especially with
Hey, I played against Blaine. I played against him and his brother. Real, and I've only played against them 1 year.
Well, and he reminds a lot of us of Caleb Downs already. He plays like Caleb Downs. He's really smart.
Hard hitter.
Yeah, hard hitter, and he's smart, man. That's the type of guy you want back there. So, sometimes, man, when it comes to DB, I would say DB recruiting and offensive line recruiting is some of the most difficult stuff you can do right now.
Yes.
So.
Going to be a fun little couple of months before we get to the end of recruiting season. We still got August, September, October, November.
Yep.
Really 4.5 months till we get to signing day. And then we're going to be in for a wild couple of months. A lot of flips, a lot of big commitments. If you're a South Carolina fan, we'll be back next week in probably what could be the biggest date that you will have all year. This was a swing and a miss, but I'll say this again. I respect the balls of Shane Beamer to go after guys like this. Landon Duckworth, it's D-Day. Landon Duckworth that will be committing next week, next Friday, the number 2 overall quarterback, according to some recruiting analysts. We'll be deciding between South Carolina and Auburn next week. Guys, thank you all for joining in on what has been a pretty fun little instant reaction analysis to JB's Shabazz, who has decided to head on out to Knoxville, be a Tennessee Volunteer. Check out Garrison Gaddy over at Ohio State on the Voice of College Football. Follow him on X at Buckeye_Gaddy. Follow me on X at Lucas_Hill23 for all the best around South Carolina and the SEC. You can always check out his stuff around South Ohio State and the Big Ten as well. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Garrison, is there anything else? Well, final thoughts on what has been a pretty interesting stream?
No, I would tell South Carolina fans, like, I'm a Buckeye, so I'm a little spoiled, right? But I would say, look, man, you got to stay encouraged. I mean, you still got one of the best coaches in college football, I believe, one of the better young coaches. So South Carolina is one of those programs, man, that it's kind of been on the cusp of being at the top of the nation. And I think it's with a guy like Frank Beamer was growing there, they're on their way.
Guys, check out Ohio State as Voice of College Football. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to them. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to South Carolina at the Voice of College Football. Follow us on the socials, guys. We will see you all very, very soon. And stay blessed. Don't ever stress.